Why does she still watch your stories but never reach out? Why does the one who walked away still linger in your digital shadow? Silent, invisible, but always watching. You see the views, you feel the presence, but the DM's empty, the call's quiet, the connection gone. Here's the hard truth. She's not watching because she misses you. She's watching because she wants to see if she still matters. She wants to know if you've moved on, or if you're still stuck in the wreckage she left behind. Women don't always regret losing you, but they hate knowing you didn't collapse without them. This is where most men break. They take her silence personally. They see those story views and start creating fantasies. Maybe she still cares. Maybe she's thinking of coming back. Nope, that's the trap. You're not dealing with love here, you're dealing with ego maintenance. She wants access to your energy without paying the price of commitment. And the more you react, even in thought, the more she owns space in your mind. Rent-free, but you're not here to stay broken. You're not here to play emotional puppet. You're here to become stoic, grounded, ruthless with your peace. This isn't about revenge, it's about rebirth. You rise not to show her what she lost, but to become the man who no longer looks back. This is how you win. With silence, with discipline, with detachment. So cold, it burns her long after she's gone. You don't post to make her jealous. You don't move on to get a reaction. You evolve so completely, she no longer recognizes the man she left. You become untouchable. So if you're tired of decoding silence, if you're done mistaking her curiosity for care, it's time to reclaim your power. Hit that like button, subscribe, turn on notifications, and comment below. My silence speaks louder than her absence. Now, let's begin. 1. Silence is a weapon. You don't need to announce your healing. You don't need to prove that you've moved on, and you, sure as hell, don't need to remind her what she lost. You let your silence do all the talking. When she left, she expected a reaction. She expected the begging, the desperate calls, the emotional outbursts. That's the script. That's what most men do. But when you go quiet, when you vanish without theatrics, you force her to sit in the consequences of her own decision. That's where the real power is. Most guys think that to get her attention back, they need to do something. Change their look, post new photos, show her they've leveled up. Nope. The real move is restraint. It's doing absolutely nothing when your emotions are screaming to act. Because silence isn't just the absence of noise. It's the presence of control. And control, that's rare. That's magnetic. She doesn't expect silence. She doesn't know what to do with it. So she checks your stories, lurks on your page, wonders what you're thinking, wonders why you're not chasing. You've got to understand how deep that hits her. Mind starts racing. Is he hurt? Is he angry? Does he even care? That uncertainty, your silence, plants seeds of doubt in her. And every day, you remain centered. Every day you don't break that silence. The seed grows. You're not playing a game. You're reclaiming your peace. Stoicism teaches us to control our responses, not because we're weak, but because we're dangerous when indisciplined. You could explode. You could call her out. You could try to make her feel what she made you feel, but you don't. You sit with it. You transmute it. You turn pain into presence, and that presence becomes unshakable. When a man can sit in silence after heartbreak and not seek validation, he becomes a storm she can't predict. You go from being the man who needed her to the man she no longer knows how to reach. And the silence, it echoes louder than any message you could send. It haunts. It lingers. Because in the end, the man who walks away quietly is the one they never stop thinking about. 2. She's not curious. She's checking if you're still bleeding. When she watches your stories, don't confuse it for longing. Don't misread her silence as mystery. She's not watching because she misses you. She's watching to see if you're still in pain, to see if you're stuck, to confirm that somewhere out there, you're still orbiting the memory of her. That's not love. That's ego maintenance. She doesn't want you back. Not yet. She just wants to know that if she did want you, you'd still be there, wounded, waiting, vulnerable. And if you are, she'll keep watching, not to reconnect, but to keep power, to feel in control. And here's where most men fall into the trap. They start posting for her. They start leaving digital breadcrumbs, hoping she picks one up. She watches their story. They post more. She likes something. They spiral. One view becomes a reason to stay emotionally chained. Stop. That's not stoicism. That's servitude to a ghost. When you live for her attention, even her silent, distant attention, you're still enslaved to her validation. A real man doesn't care if she watches. In fact, he acts like she doesn't exist because her eyes on your story don't change your path. You're not performing for her. You're not seeking approval. You're on your own mission. Now, the Stoic understands that attention is cheap when it's not backed by action. A view doesn't mean she's coming back. A like isn't an olive branch. It's bait. It's a test to see if you'll crumble, if you'll reach out, if you'll crack first. And when you don't, when you keep your energy locked down, that's when the power begins to shift. You become unpredictable, unavailable. You stop feeding her ego, and now she's the one unsure, wondering what you're thinking, wondering who you've become. That mystery, that silence, that's where attraction starts to rebuild. Not through chasing, but through detachment. When she watches your story and sees nothing aimed at her, no drama, no reaction, no emotional leaks, that's when she starts to feel the regret creep in. Not because you're gone, but because you didn't break. No 3. Her guilt isn't love. Just because she regrets doesn't mean she loves you. Regret and love are not the same thing. One is a bruise to the ego, the other is a pull to the soul. Don't mistake her watching your stories, lingering in your digital world, or randomly liking a post as a sign that she wants to come back. That's not love. That's guilt wrapped in curiosity. That's her checking to see if you're still in the place she left you. And if you are, it reassures her that leaving you didn't cost her anything. Women don't regret leaving a man who collapses. They regret the one who didn't flinch, who didn't beg, who didn't post some fake glow-up for attention. That man becomes an itch they can't scratch. But that regret she feels, that's hers to carry. It's not your job to ease it. It's not your role to answer it. Her feelings are not your responsibility anymore. The Stoic man knows this. He knows that just because someone feels bad doesn't mean they're coming back with pure intentions. Guilt is often selfish. She may miss the access. She may miss the validation. She may miss how easy it was to keep you emotionally available. But does she miss you? The real you, your values, your presence, your loyalty, or just the comfort you gave her when it served her? Here's what's dangerous. Most men feel that twinge of attention and instantly open the door again. Maybe she's realizing she made a mistake. Nope. Maybe she's realizing you're no longer a safety net. That's not romance. That's panic. Guilt isn't a green light. It's a warning sign, a trap. If she's reaching out because she's lonely, confused, or trying to patch up her own sense of self-worth, she's not looking to rebuild anything real. She's just avoiding the silence you left behind. Your role isn't to heal her guilt. Your role is to stay grounded in your purpose. Let her feel what she feels. Let her regret. Let her wonder. But never take guilt as proof of love. Because the moment you do, you're back in her pocket. Easy, available, predictable. And you're not that man anymore. Number 4. Emotion is her control. Leave. She doesn't need to say a word to control you. All she has to do is show up in your notifications, a view, a like, a message at 1:00 a.m., and suddenly, your mind is spiraling. That's not by accident, that's leverage. That's emotional manipulation. Without ever needing a conversation. And if you still react to it, if you still read into every move she makes, then she's still in control. Physically and mentally, she's still pulling strings. This is how it works. She withdraws affection to create uncertainty, then gives you just enough attention to keep you hoping. It's not connection, it's conditioning. She's training you to respond to breadcrumbs, and most men do. They interpret every small action as a sign. They obsess, analyze, overthink. What did that, like, mean? Why did she text out of nowhere? Should I respond? Stop. That emotional chaos is exactly where she wants you. A Stoic doesn't play that game. He doesn't feed the cycle. He sees through the tactic. She can watch every story, every post, send every emoji, and he feels nothing. That's the discipline. That's emotional sovereignty. She no longer has access to your inner world. That's how you win, not by getting her back, but by making her influence irrelevant. Because the moment you stop reacting, the power dynamic shifts. You're no longer the emotional puppet. You're the grounded force she can't shake. You're no longer asking, "What does this mean?" You're saying it doesn't matter. You're not cold, you're clear. Her games don't move you. Her regret doesn't shake you. Her attention doesn't excite you. Once she realizes she can no longer control how you feel, she loses the hold completely. And that's when the regret deepens. Because it's not just about missing you now. It's about no longer being able to reach you. That control gone. And to someone used to pulling emotional strings, that silence is deafening. That absence becomes unbearable. And the man who was once so easy to move becomes impossible to manipulate. Number 5. Rebuild in the shadows. Your comeback doesn't need an audience. You don't need to announce your healing, showcase your progress, or post your every move just to prove you're doing better. That's not strength. That's still seeking validation. Real transformation happens when no one's watching. When you disappear, not out of bitterness, but out of purpose. When you go silent, not to punish, but to rebuild. This is where most men fail. They try to perform their glow up. They want her to see how much they've leveled up. So they flood their stories with gym selfies, luxury quotes, fake smiles. And she sees it. But all it tells her is you're still performing for her, that you haven't let go, that your worth still depends on her seeing it. Stoicism teaches you to detach from outcome. You're not healing for revenge. You're not evolving for recognition. You're doing it because it's necessary, because you refuse to stay broken, because your mission is bigger than any breakup. You don't chase closure. You build structure, discipline, focus, a quiet rebuild that doesn't beg for applause. When you vanish from her radar and stop broadcasting your moves, she loses the ability to gauge your progress. That uncertainty, that mystery, it's louder than anything you could post. It triggers something deeper than curiosity. It stirs fear. Fear that you've truly moved on, that you're becoming someone she no longer has access to, someone she no longer understands, someone she never actually knew. Let your silence be the construction zone while she's checking stories, looking for signs of your pain. Let her find nothing. Let her wonder where you went while she's watching. You're working while she's waiting for a slip up. You're building a life she'll never be part of again. That's the difference between pretending to move on and actually evolving. One is noise, the other is discipline. One chases attention, the other commands respect. Rebuild in the shadows. And when you re-emerge, you won't need to say a word. The results will speak for you. Number 6. The spotlight is a trap. That urge to show her you're doing better. That's your ego talking. That's not power. That's performance. And performance is weakness in disguise. The moment you start posting just to be seen, just to trigger a reaction, you're already losing. Because now, your actions aren't about growth. They're about her. You've turned your healing into a performance stage, and she's still the audience you're dancing for. Understand this. The spotlight is a trap. It feels good to be noticed. It feels tempting to show off your progress. But if your success is still tied to her attention, then you're not free. You're still in orbit. A man who truly evolves doesn't need to broadcast. He doesn't move for approval. He moves because standing still is death. His mission is inward, quiet, unshakable. Women know when you're trying to provoke them. When you flex, post thirst traps, or show off your new life, it doesn't make her feel regret. It confirms her belief that you were never that deep to begin with, that you were all surface, all show, and that gives her peace. It makes her feel justified for leaving. But when you go dark, when you stop signaling your every move, when you simply disappear, now you flip the power because now she can't read you. She doesn't know where you are emotionally. She doesn't know if you're spiraling or thriving. And that mystery, that silence, it creates an itch no amount of scrolling can scratch. The Stoic man doesn't compete for attention. He doesn't flex. He withdraws. And when he does that, he becomes powerful, untouchable, a man who no longer needs to be seen to feel worthy. That's rare. That's dangerous. because she'll start to realize he's not pretending to move on, he already has. The moment you stop needing her to see you is the moment you start becoming a man she wishes she hadn't lost. Not because you made noise, but because you mastered the art of the quiet exit. Number 7. Attention is currency. Spend nothing. Every time you watch her story, like her post, or even hover on her profile, you're paying her, not in money, but in attention. And attention is currency. It's value. It's validation. She doesn't need your words. She doesn't even need your presence. As long as you're still giving her digital attention, you're still giving her power. And she knows it. Women read silence better than you think. She knows when you're lurking. She knows when you're still watching. And if you're still giving her attention while pretending you've moved on, she can feel the lie. That false detachment doesn't hit. It doesn't scare her. It reassures her. She knows you're still emotionally available, even if you're silent about it. But when you stop spending that attention, when you cut the energy supply, that's when the balance shifts. That's when you become the one she can't read, can't predict, can't reach. And it drives her insane. Because now she's the one wondering. She's the one checking your page. She's the one searching for crumbs and finding none. Stoicism isn't about pretending you don't care. It's about genuinely deciding that your energy is too expensive to waste. You're not angry. You're not bitter. You're just unavailable. You've elevated your standards and your attention. It's reserved for things that move your life forward, not ghosts from your past. Every time you don't engage, you're investing in your future self. Every time you choose peace over reaction, you're making yourself richer in discipline, in clarity, in power. Let her wonder why you stopped watching. Let her notice the silence. That's the interest paid on the attention she used to get for free. Attention is currency. Don't spend it where there's no return. Hold the line. Keep your energy tight. Because the man who gives nothing suddenly becomes everything. She can't stop thinking about number 8. Her regret is a mirror, not a rope. When she starts to regret losing you, and she will, that regret is not a rescue rope. It's not a call to action. It's a mirror, a reflection of her own choices, her own loss, her own misjudgment. It belongs to her. And if you're wise, you'll let her hold it alone. Because the moment you use her regret as an excuse to crawl back, you hand over your power again. Her regret isn't about you. It's about what she gave up. It's about the man who didn't fold, the man who didn't come running. And that bruises her ego. It disrupts the script. She expected you to follow, chase, apologize, wait. Instead, you walked. And now she's left to sit with the echo of that decision. That sting. That's hers to feel and yours to fix. Too many men think female regret means a second chance. They get pulled back and by late night messages, nostalgia fuel check-ins, and passive little "how have you been?" texts. Nope, that's not healing. That's ego bait. She wants to see if the door is still cracked open, if you're still emotionally available when she's bored, lonely, or low. Don't mistake her guilt for a green light. The Stoic doesn't reach for the past. He doesn't use someone else's feelings to steer his future. He's not bitter, but he's not stupid either. Regret without change. Behavior is just emotional noise. And you don't entertain noise anymore. You live in clarity. When she reaches out, you don't get excited, you get composed. You assess, you observe, and most importantly, you remember not just who she was, but who you had to become after she left. That version of you isn't looking backward. That version doesn't chase closure or recycle old wounds. Her regret is not your invitation to regress. It's proof of your progress, a reflection that you've become something worth missing. Not because you shouted louder, but because you stayed silent long enough to evolve. Let her regret, let her reach, let her remember, but never let it drag you back into who you used to be. Number 9. Attraction through absence. Want to become unforgettable, disappear not in a game playing. I'll ghost her, so she wants me way, but in a real deep, absolute way. Pull your presence from her life so completely that the absence becomes louder than any words you could ever say. Attraction isn't built through pressure, it's built through distance. And when a man truly detaches, not for effect, but because he's actually done, that's when she starts to feel the void. Most guys think attraction is about showing up more messages, more gestures, more proof that they care. Nope, that's not how the mind works. People don't value what's always there. They value what they suddenly can't access, what they lost, what became scarce. And when you vanish, when your name stops appearing in her notifications, when she realizes she can't track your life anymore, that's when her mind starts working for you. Absence forces reflection. It makes her question everything, just who you were, but who you've become. And the less she knows, the more her imagination fills in the blanks. That's where the attraction builds. Not through answers, but through mystery, through wondering if you've outgrown her, if you've met someone else, if you've become someone she'll never get close to again. But here's the key. This only works if the absence is real. If you're still secretly checking her page, still reacting internally to her attention, still fantasizing about her regret, then you haven't disappeared. You're just hiding. And she can feel that. Women sense the energy. They know when you're pretending. The Stoic man walks away for good, not to manipulate, but because he's reclaimed his center. He doesn't dangle himself in front of her for validation. He exits with no announcement and no need to be chased. And that silence, that absence, that's what changes everything. The man who no longer needs to be seen is the man she can't stop seeing in her head. You want to be unforgettable, be unavailable. Not emotionally cold, but spiritually gone. That's the kind of absence that makes a presence permanent. Number 10. Become untouchable. This is the final form. Not big, not angry, not waiting. Just untouchable. Not because you've built walls, but because you've built a life so full, so focused, so locked into purpose, that nothing from your past can shake it. That's the Stoic path. You're not here to be liked. You're not here to be followed. You're here to build, to conquer your own mind, to become a man. No one can rattle the pain she caused. You don't carry it anymore. You used it. You transmuted it. Every silent night, every unanswered question, every story she watched, but never replied to, it all became weight for you to lift fuel for the fire. And now, you don't look back. Not because you've forgotten, but because it no longer matters. She chose her path, and you chose yours. The only difference is yours leads forward. Untouchable isn't about being unfeeling. It's about being unmoved. You still feel, but you don't react. You still remember, but you don't revisit. And that discipline, that emotional control, that's what makes you powerful. Because most people are predictable. They chase, they beg, they lash out. You disappear, you evolve. And when she comes back, and yes, she often will, it won't matter, because you're no longer the man she left. You're not trying to prove anything. You're not performing strength. You are strong. And the version of you that she once had access to, he's gone, placed by someone colder, sharper, clearer. This isn't about revenge. It's not about showing her what she lost. It's about becoming so complete that even her return couldn't improve your life. That's what untouchable means. It's not about hiding from pain. It's about becoming so rooted in self-mastery that nothing, no regret, no apology, no attention can pull you off balance. You're not hers to lose anymore. You're yours to protect. That's power. That's peace. That's the man who never needs to chase again. So now, you know, she watches your stories not out of love, but out of curiosity, out of ego, out of a need to feel like she still matters. But when you stop reacting, when you stop chasing, when you stop performing, you win. Not because you got her back, but because you got yourself back. You didn't fold. You didn't break. You didn't feed her need for control. You built in silence. You detached with discipline. You transformed through absence. And now you're untouchable. That's what haunts her, your words. Not your pain, but your peace. So to every man watching this, stay silent, stay grounded, stay dangerous. Let her watch, let her wonder, but never let her reach you again. If you're done being the echo of someone else's choice, if you're ready to become the man no one forgets, but no one can reach, hit that like button, subscribe, turn on notifications and comment below. I am no longer within her reach. This is Stoic Blessing. Stay sharp, stay detached, stay in control.